Just first to say thank you all very much for attending our session this morning. As you can see there on the screen, essentially what we're here to talk about today is what is coming down the pipes from Microsoft in relation to the Dynamics 365 product. Now, there are a few flavors of Dynamics 365, so specifically what we're dealing with here today is Dynamics 365 Sales and Dynamics 365 Customer Service, essentially the old-fashioned Dynamics CRM solution of old. My name is Daryl Brisline. I'm kind of the account manager, business development for the Irish office of Mhance, and I'm joined by my colleague Rachel Sayre, one of our senior team leads, who has really spent the last number of years putting Dynamics into our customer base, primarily the NFP sector. So really, I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to be handing over to Rachel, and she'll be doing the heavy lifting on this particular session. If there are any questions, there is a Q&A button or Q&A option to this webinar software, and you can put your question to us through that, and then I'll pick that up and either answer it myself or ask Rachel to answer. So before I do hand over to Rachel, just a quick few words on what is it these wave seminars are all about. What is a wave even? And so look, I'm just going to take you to this Microsoft screen and essentially explain that a wave is Microsoft's way of releasing new functionality, bug fixes, security patches, all that kind of usual stuff for the various products that exist in their portfolio. So not just Dynamics. I mean, it goes across all the various software that they make available, including the productivity software. But we're pretty much focused on the Dynamics and some of the peripheral functionality around Dynamics, like Power Platform. And what Microsoft do is they split their releases into two major releases a year, a release being a wave. And so if you see here, there was a wave around the October timeframe of last year, and the wave we're focusing on is this new release coming out in April of this year. So it's actually coming out in April. So this is kind of a preview of some of the capability coming down the pipes for Dynamics Sales, like I say, and Customer Service. But you'll see here, as part of the April release, you've got Dynamics, Power Platform, some of the Microsoft Cloud. These are kind of like bundles for various sectors, including the NFP sector, and then Microsoft's AI offerings, which is in this case Copilot. So if I just click into that, we get an awful lot of detail then in behind what's actually included in the wave. So there's the sales breakdown, there's customer service breakdown, and this is the area that Rebecca will be focusing on in the session in a few minutes. But as you can see, it provides an awful lot of detail, and it's there available to you if you want to go into that afterwards. What we try to do is make it a bit simpler, just focus in on what we feel is relevant, get the best bang for the buck, you might say, in relation to what we feel you might be interested in. So look, that's enough waffling from me. That's essentially what a wave release is. I'm going to hand over to Rachel to take you through what she has available for you. You don't mind, Rachel, then you'll share?
Perfect. Thank you, Daryl. Yes, morning, everybody. Hopefully everyone can see my screen now. So we'll just have a look at the agenda for today, and then we'll get into some more of the detail. Before I go through the agenda, just to mention, so as Daryl says, this is going to be available from April. Obviously, we are in March currently, so I won't be able to demo any of the features today, but we can talk through what is expected to be coming in a week's time. So it's split into sales and customer service. So we'll start with sales. The main kind of feature that's coming is the sales qualification agent. As with a lot of the Microsoft products now, there's a lot of Copilot features. So Copilot and the modules are quite interlinked. So it is specifically within the sales module, but it is a Copilot workspace. There's some automation about following up communications, so emails specifically. There's a new feature about increasing your pipeline with the intent to buy analysis. So some kind of AI functionality in there. And then we'll move into customer service. So there's the customer knowledge management agent. So that's kind of the equivalent of the sales qualification agent in the sales module. There's one in the customer service module. Email template recommendations, customer sentiment indicators, personalized case views, and some extra functionality with SLAs if you use those. So hopefully this will all become clear as we go through. So as I said, we'll start with sales, and we'll start with the sales qualification agent. Apologies if these screenshots are a little bit blurry. This is all I have access to at the moment. As I say, in a week's time, we all kind of have full access to them. But what is the sales qualification agent? So the purpose of it is to help your sales team manage their leads. So when you log in to the Sales Hub, on the lead screen, you will then get this kind of Copilot suggested actions for you. And the purpose is to prioritize your leads. So it will read the data that you have in the leads table, and it will kind of give you a list and say, right, these are the ones we think you should be focusing on today. It might be things like these people have been emailing you. It'll kind of read through all the activities. It will also look at external data sources. So it's not just looking at Dataverse. It will try and access data from the web, as I mentioned, emails. And it will also read some of the content of those emails and advise you whether or not it needs to go to support. So it doesn't just kind of say, right, this is a top priority lead. It will say, actually, don't contact this person because they've got some support cases open at the moment. You don't want to be annoying anybody. So really powerful, really excited to see this one in action. And with a lot of these kind of bigger pieces of functionality, there's always a settings area. So for your particular company, there might be features that you don't want, and admins will have full access then to turn things on and off. So depending on your sales process, depending on your lead qualification process, you'll be able to edit some of the settings. You can see here, you can kind of toggle things on and off. And in this bit down here, you can put a bit of text about what it is you're actually selling. So you can give the AI model a bit more detail, which will help it understand what is a qualification for you. And again, over time, like with a lot of these products, it will start to learn your processes and what constitutes a qualified lead and what doesn't. Okay. Next on the list is automating follow-up communications. So this will be a huge time saver. Again, there's a lot of kind of focus in this next wave around emails. So you'll see me mention emails a lot. But it will, again, read through emails that are received into the Sales Hub. And you can trigger automatic follow-ups. So it will send follow-up emails. Again, you have to kind of tell it what it is you want it to put in. But rather than you sending the same email 10 times in a day, have you received my last email, etc. It will do it for you. A really nice feature as well is this out-of-office response management. So it will be able to read if you receive an out-of-office from one of your leads, and then it will pause any follow-ups to that particular contact or that particular lead. So again, if somebody, unfortunately, they're off sick for a month, you're not bombarding them with the same email saying, please get in touch. And then this one at the bottom, really intrigued to see this in action, but this will allow leads to schedule their own meetings and appointments with you. So again, rather than that back and forth of, okay, I'm free on Monday at 10, okay, I can do Monday at 11. Instead, they'll have access to your calendar and then they can request appointments and meetings. Now, this is configurable. You don't have to give access to your calendar. I can maybe see people going, oh, but if you want to, it's an option, which again will reduce the amount of kind of back and forth that you have to do. Okay, then we move on to increasing the pipeline quality with the intent to buy analysis. So this is an AI model that, again, is reading emails, it's reading other activities, other information that you're putting into your leads, and it's basically learning if a customer responds in a certain way, how likely are they to then progress to a qualified lead? So it is looking at the content that you are entering into your leads and saying, based on the latest email update from that lead, we think there's a high probability that they're going to actually want to purchase something with you. It will, by default, have these categories, so interested, not interested, and disqualified. But you can see kind of down here, there's always an admin area. So in the admin area, you can specify your own categories. So you might want to say like high, medium, low, rather than interested, not interested, disqualified. Based on your categories as well, you can then say, if it's the kind of the bottom tier category, that can be an auto disqualification. So it will remove that lead from your active leads list. Again, just kind of helping people manage their workload without having to kind of go into records and update them. And again, it's got some kind of linkage with the customer service app. So it will again read to see, has that particular person or has that company got any support cases open with us? And if they do, it'll route it through to the customer service team. So it's trying to make the sales team and the customer service team really integrated. And so you're not stepping on each other's toes without having to go and check a lot of information in the system. Okay, so I think that's it for sales. There are other features, but they were kind of the ones that I picked out as kind of the most shiny and new. So we'll move on to customer service now. And we'll have a look at the customer knowledge management agent. So this is as I say, the kind of the equivalent of the sales qualification agent. It's kind of the main feature, the main part of the wave that's coming. And again, it's Copilot based. And the purpose of it is as cases are coming through and you're obviously, dealing with customer issues or training needs or potential software bugs, it's reading the information that is coming through emails, it's reading the information that you're entering onto the case records, and it's looking back on all your previous cases and emails. It's then creating knowledge articles. So if it looks at that information, looks at that particular problem and says, actually, we don't have a knowledge article about this already, it will auto create one. If it thinks, okay, we've got something similar in the system, it will update it. And it just means in the future for all your customer service agents, your knowledge articles are all getting auto created. So nobody has to manually, after the fact, go in and add records. So as I say, it'll read the case and activity information. It's got duplicate prevention. This is quite a nice feature, and the built-in compliance. So obviously cases will often have a lot of personal customer information in them. When it creates the knowledge articles, it scrubs that information out. So if you wanted to share those knowledge articles externally or send them via email, you don't have any GDPR implications. And then down here again, you kind of got an admin part, so it'll auto publish them. And after they're created, so AI isn't perfect, it's getting that way, but it isn't perfect yet. If you need to make edits to those knowledge articles, then you can edit them as well. We've then got the admin area. We keep mentioning the admin area, but the admin area for the customer knowledge management agent. So if you don't want it to create these knowledge articles in real time, you can turn that feature off. And if you don't want it to look back at your historical case data, then you can also turn that feature off. It will only look back on the previous 1,000 cases, which sounds like a big number, but if if you had your kind of service arm of the business going for a while, that isn't actually that many records. There's pros and cons to turning that feature off. It might be that some of your historical data is no longer relevant, or you've moved into like different products, and therefore you don't want it reading a lot of data. So email template recommendations. This is a new feature when you're sending emails from within Dynamics. There is already Copilot functionality on the enhanced email screen, but this is kind of taking it to that next level. So current functionality, Copilot might suggest a draft for an email, or it might suggest a tone for an email. But with this new feature, you can actually insert email templates. So it will read through the conversation. It will then look through your email template library, and it will suggest which email template to insert into the email. You probably can't see this very well, but in this screenshot here, you then get the option to either keep the one that it's chosen, or you can discard it, or you can adjust it and pick another template. So these are all suggestions. You don't have to go with its suggestion. And like with all AI, it does learn. So if at the beginning it's, it's always suggesting a thank you email that's not appropriate for that product, then over time, if you keep adjusting it and picking a different thank you email, that will become the one that it starts picking. So really helpful if you're using email templates. If you're not using email templates, I would recommend having a look at those as well. Just keep your branding on point. And then again, as with anything, you can kind of turn these features on and off. Okay, so then we have the customer sentiment indicators on an email. So right down here at the bottom, you can see how it is categorizing emails. So we've got positive, neutral, and negative. So again, it will read through the email thread, and based on the responses from the customer, it will then automatically categorize your emails as positive, neutral, or negative. So really helpful if you've got a super busy mailbox, especially like shared mailboxes. If you've got people on holiday and maybe you're slightly short-staffed that day, you want to only focus on kind of the high priority customers. You can at a glance then see, right, who are we having negative interactions with? Do we need to focus on those emails first and kind of turn that conversation around? So as you can see here, like it'll help you to escalate critical cases. This is all real time as well. So as the emails are coming into the mailboxes, it's assigning the sentiment to them. And it isn't just based on the customer's response. So it is how you respond to the customer as well. It is as you can see, it's like based on the tone of the email. So it's not just the words you use, it's the overall kind of tone to the conversation. Okay. We have creating personalized case views in an inbox. So hopefully for those of you that use Dynamics already, you're familiar with views. The views that you have in Dynamics don't correlate to your inbox. So this new feature, you'll be able to replicate the views that you created in Dynamics, but in your inbox. So admins will have functionality to create views based on, I don't know, for example, case type or priority. And then customer service agents will be able to add those views to their inbox, and the relevant cases will fall into the relevant views. So again, it's kind of trying to streamline what it looks like in Dynamics to what it looks like in your inbox. So if I'm a user, I'm having the same experience. It doesn't matter whether I want to send the emails from Dynamics or I want to send the emails from my own inbox. Again, it should hopefully help people, you can see, keep organized. It'll improve productivity. You know, again, if you've got a large customer service department and there's particular teams that are working on particular issue types or particular case types, then if they add that view into their inbox, they know that I've only got this much that I need to work on today, rather than that whole list. And if you think about this case view with that sentiment, email sentiment feature that's coming, so what you'll end up with in your inbox is different views, and then they can also be prioritized by sentiment. So I've got all the high priority cases with a negative sentiment. So I know that they're the top of my list for today. This is the top 10 that I need to work on. It's fully customizable, as with everything. And again, it's admins that would set that up. Okay. And then I think the last one from me is around SLAs. So for anyone that doesn't know what an SLA is, an SLA is a service level agreement, and it is a standard functionality with the customer service app. So SLAs are data driven, so each individual company can have their own SLAs. And when a case comes in, if a case was, I don't know, it was a high priority case, it could have a specific SLA assigned to it. So it might be that you need to respond within 2 days. It might be that you need to have resolved that case by a week. Kind of up to you guys what your SLAs are or what agreements you've got with your customers. Currently with SLAs, you set SLAs based on rules, and if the case falls outside of those rules, then it will fail that SLA. So this new feature is giving you a bit more flexibility. So you would still set your SLAs up in the same way. You would still say, I need to respond to that customer case in 2 days. But now you can do things like pause or kind of move it to waiting so that it's not affecting your SLA anymore. So you can see here, admins can configure timeouts. So there's specific criteria that admins can set up that mean basically the timer stops for a period of time. So a really common one is if you're waiting for the customer to come back to you with information, your timer is still ticking down. If that customer goes on holiday for a week, you're going to miss your SLA. You're going to fail that SLA because you're waiting for information from them. This new feature means that you can move it to waiting or your equivalent, and it kind of puts a pause on that timer. When the customer comes back to you, you can start the timer again, and then your SLA carries on as normal. So I think this is going to be a really powerful one. It'll be interesting to see this one in action. As I say, it will give you a lot more flexibility, and it'll mean that you can probably be a bit more precise with your SLAs. I know that for a lot of people, their SLAs are quite broad because of things like accounting for people being on leave. So this way you can keep them to exactly what you want them to be and just kind of pause it when you don't want your timer to be ticking down anymore. So I think that is everything I needed to show today. So let me go to our last slide. And Darryl, I don't know if you wanted to run through this.
Well, actually, just before we do then, Rachel, and thank you for that. So look, a lot of detail there in what Rachel has provided. Some might be relevant to how you use Dynamics, some might not be. I get that. Again, if you check out that link that I showed earlier, you will get a lot more detail as to what's coming in these waves. We might take the opportunity once the April wave software or changes have landed, we might then do another session around that wave and take you into actually showing some of the changes. The funny thing is that what Microsoft then makes available as part of the wave, it doesn't all land on the same day. It actually spreads itself out. It might land some stuff early April, some stuff later in April, and the next thing you see new stuff happening in May. So around May, maybe early June, we might look to doing a session where we actually can demonstrate some of the capability that Rachel has just touched on there. So, which leads me nicely into then, well, actually, before I move into the kind of the agenda, the future events, any additional questions? I don't see anything in the Q&A, but if there is, you've got a few more minutes there just to maybe pop it in. And while we have Rachel here, we can get those answered. So just so you know, what's up on the screen at the moment is just, you know, today was really to kind of start the ball rolling on this new wave. And like I say, we might then go a little bit deeper into its capability later into the quarter. Elsewhere, in terms of mHands and its personnel and what we're doing, people might know Tori Cassidy, James Glover, part of our senior management team. They're currently out in Washington State in the US at Microsoft's Global Nonprofit Leaders Summit. So that's where really everybody who's who in the zoo in relation to Microsoft and the NFP sector gather annually. And we're represented out there this year by Tori and James. Then back into the more mundane stuff, I suppose. More webinars similar to what we've done here for Dynamics 365 CRM. Similarly, people will know that we also provide a Microsoft finance solution called Business Central, and similarly, it's subjected to the Wave release or cadence, and so Business Central has its own release coming in April, and so we have a session in 2 days' time on that. Also in 2 days' time, and this might be relevant to all organizations on this call today, but we, mHands, have the capability to review your Microsoft license estate. So really what that means is to review all the Microsoft licenses you have in use, be it Dynamics, but more importantly, getting into things like the Power Platform or down to the day-to-day use of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, in other words, Microsoft 365. And that review can basically pick out, do you have the right licenses? Do you have enough of them? Do you have too many of them? There are levels of licensing. Even Dynamics 365, you can actually replace some of the Dynamics 365 sales licenses with Power Apps licenses, and they're a lot less expensive, you might say. And so sometimes it actually makes sense to switch from Dynamics 365 sales licenses to Power Apps licenses and save some money. So look, engage with us on that. And it's a great way for us to be able to tell you, yeah, look, you're using the right licenses. No, you're under licensed, you're over licensed, you're paying too much money. And we'll do that kind of review for you at no cost. Then we'll talk about the Power Platform. Power Platform is one of those, again, umbrella, a bit like Dynamics. It's an umbrella marketing name for Power BI, which most of us will know as a reporting tool. Power Work Automate, which is the workflow. Power Apps, which is kind of like the low code, no code way of developing. And then Power Portals, which is Microsoft's nice way to develop front end web pages to the whole Dynamics ecosystem. So if anybody's interested in knowing some of the peripheral Power Platform elements, or you have a familiarity with them and you want to know what's coming new for them, then there's a session on the 28th. We are actually doing a deeper dive for Business Central in May 9, but then we get into the face-to-face type meetings. There are here in Dublin 2 events coming up. That first one there is run by the Charities Institute of Ireland. It's a fundraising school geared towards the fundraising organisations within the charity sector. The Wheel is another the Wheel is another charity organisation in Dublin, and they meet every year, a big conference in Croke Park. Then we're into 2 events. We call them the round table. These are Enhance events that we do with our customer base. So if you are a long-time customer of ours, you will know what these are. But essentially, we either we do them virtually or we do them on site. Typically alternate. And it's where we again go into some detail of what's new, but also we go through some topics that we feel are relevant, educational topics on the products in use. So we have one on the finance products, so Business Central, on the 4th of June, and then one on the Dynamics CRM products as it applies to the non-profit sector on the 5th of June. And both of those will be in London. So they will be face-to-face in London. We just haven't got the venue fully agreed yet. We'll come back to you with the venue when we have that organized. And then finally, another event, but it's a third-party event that we participate in, and it's the Charity Finance Group, CFG, Charity Finance Group. And again, we'll be attending that. We'll have a stand there. We'll have some of our personnel there, again, answering questions. Anybody in the charity sector who has a need of a finance solution that we feel they could come to us and ask. So look, that's us. Quite a busy marketing calendar there. As you can see, that takes us through the end of June. Once we get through that, then we'll have a whole other calendar for the second half of the year. I don't see any questions in the Q&A, so really at this point I'll just say thank you all very much for attending here today, and if you do have questions afterwards, please reach out to Enhance and your account manager and we'll take it from there. Thank you all very much.